So today I wanted to talk about Rick Beato's video on modern music getting worse. Now, I highly disagree with this video, mostly for a few reasons. Now, the first major reason he kind of gets into is the instruments aren't really being used, or if they are, they don't sound as human.
A little drag. Well, let's move it back a little bit, or let's move it forward, whatever. And then you move that, and you're like, well, the snare after it kind of sounds weird because we moved that forward. Now the snare sounds like it's dragged, so we do that. Then you're like, well, you know what? Let's just look at the grid lines, the bar lines, and we'll just move them to that. Then you start cutting out, moving them. Then they give you this tool called Beat Detective. Then you can actually quantize an entire part. So then it becomes like a drum machine. So it's not human-like. Here's an example of a quantized drum part. It's John Bonham's drum performance from Fool in the Rain. That's a shuffle. Here's what it sounds like as a machine. Now here's the actual human performance of John Bonham. Notice the swing in it.
So the example he uses is the drumming on Led Zeppelin or John Bonham, and how it's not perfectly quantized and not perfectly robotic, and how there's a human element to it because of all the notes being accented. I'm not a drummer, so I'm not really an expert on that, but just because something isn't quantized or isn't perfectly on the grid doesn't make it more human. I feel like this kind of extends to other genres with like hip-hop, where they use drum machines. And as a fan of hip-hop, I do feel like that music is just as human as any rock music. Mostly because I think if you look at any Kanye West song or any other rapper's song, there's more to the music than just perfectly quantized drums in the background. There's choirs, there's lyrics, there's a story being told, and there is no definitive thing for what makes something sound human. A lot of people say like the song Giant Steps leaves them emotionless or cold, but that's in their personal opinion. If you say the music in general is cold and emotionless, well, you can't really say that because other people may find emotion in that. Like, I personally think the song is chaotic, and I think that it's not really up to my taste, but I do like how it makes me feel chaotic and how it makes me feel something, You can't distinguish what player makes you feel something because it's subjective. And quantized music is not going to make somebody feel any less emotional or any less sad. Another thing is just because something is more laid back and not as quantized doesn't make it perfect. A lot of Jimi Hendrix's music, albeit was super innovative, but compared to like someone like Eric Gales or Stevie Ray Vaughan or any modern player like Chris Stone Ingram, those players, their timing is more consistent, and even if it's not perfect, because their timing is more consistent, their versions of Hendrix tunes are a lot more, I think, sophisticated, and they sound better in my opinion. And another thing that I feel is important to address is I think that just because something leaves you cold doesn't make the whole thing worse, Like, for example, I guess in the violin community there's a huge debate on Itzhak Perlman versus Heifetz, and some people say, well, Heifetz leaves me cold. How does he leave you cold if he has a stoic expression? Because you're looking at him, you're hearing with your eyes, you're looking at him and you see this stern guy, and you're thinking, oh, well, his music makes me cold. Well, he's playing the music absolutely flawlessly, and he has emotion in his vibrato. course, it can maybe leave you cold, but to say in general it's entirely cold is pretty stupid in my opinion. Another point he gives is that because music is more accessible, we have less value towards it. People don't listen to whole albums anymore.
So this is the water faucet in my kitchen. But imagine this is streaming on Spotify or Apple Music. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, but what's going on in the stream of water is all of the music that's on these platforms. Now imagine this is one artist's entire output, their entire catalog. Might be The Police, could be Billie Eilish, could be Led Zeppelin, the Beatles. And then this dropper is each of their songs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I just did a whole record there. And eventually you exhaust their whole catalog. When I hit this and I start the stream, the music has very little importance if you think about it this way. It goes from the faucet, down the drain, out to the sewer, where it's recycled again. Except in this case, the music is not recycled like it is through the sewer. There were 100,000 new songs added every day in 2023 to streaming platforms. That's more than one song per second for the entire year. By comparison, when I was a kid, if I wanted to buy this Led Zeppelin 2 record, I had to get a job or borrow money from my parents to buy it because I wanted to own it.
But I don't think this is something you can generally prove, because like lots of college kids will listen to an entire album together and lots of people won't. And there's plenty of great music that I will listen to the entire album. Like Polyphia's new album, I listened to that whole thing with my friends when it came out in I think 2022. So I think that people can enjoy albums all the way now. It's just many songs on the Billboard are marketed to be highly catchy, highly for that consumer base. So if they're not necessarily going for the artistic quality as they are going for the capitalistic one, because someone like A$AP Rocky, every song on his album isn't supposed to be like amazing and innovative because he's trying to make a hit. He's working with his writers or with himself to make each song as catchy as possible, and sometimes they land and sometimes they don't. Someone like Kendrick Lamar, who's more experimental, in my opinion, probably, he's probably going to have a wide variety of different experimental stuff on his album. That's not to say that I don't think some of the sounds on A$AP Rocky's music is innovative. I actually like that, but that's part of the reason why you may only find one catchy song out of an entire album versus all the songs being bangers. Because I think in order to make a song memorable, you do have to be at least somewhat innovative. I mean, look at Childish Gambino's "This Is America." It was pretty different in terms of a song form, but it was so innovative that it pretty much went viral because like people were like, "Oh, cool! This is a powerful message," and it's pretty innovative in terms of other music stuff. So that's his second opinion that I disagree with, and yeah.